July 27th was the 40th anniversary of the start of the disastrous riot at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester. The riot spanned 3 days and required Governor David Hall to call in the National Guard to restore order. I spoke with Oklahoma Watch reporters Clifton Adcock and Shaun Hittle about the 1973 riot and the situation in the prison system today. Shaun, were there any indications that trouble was imminent in McAlester in 1973?
Well, the way people describe it was a powder keg waiting for a spark, and that all the conditions were right for a riot down there. They had overcrowding at the prison. It was rated for about 1,100 inmates. They had about 2,000 inmates. They had about 19, I believe, murders there in the previous 3 years, and dozens of other stabbings. So everything was right for the conditions, for a riot to happen, and it was just sort of a question of when.
How extensive was the damage, and how did the state finally bring order?
Well, some of the estimates are anywhere between $20 and $30 million in 1973 money, and you see it quoted a lot as it was the most expensive prison riot in the history of corrections. And basically how they brought it to order was initially when the call came in, local police responded to the prison, and their primary task then was just to sort of keep the inmates in the prison. And then they waited for the National Guard and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol to come and assist. And at that point, the Governor Hall, was in negotiations with the prisoners, and that's what sort of kept the calm to some degree while more troops came and were able to sort of physically secure the prison.
Clifton, are you seeing similar conditions now in Oklahoma's prison system?
Throughout the system, the system is at capacity right now. OSP is sort of a different animal. It's only less than 2/3 full right now. However, if you look at some of these other smaller prisons, you'll see that, yes, they are indeed at capacity, if not a little bit over in some cases.
Why is the prison in McAlester not at capacity?
The staffing, they are understaffed. All the people we spoke with, or most of the people we spoke with, said there was a problem with morale, low pay. You've got guards working sometimes 4 days a week of 16-hour shifts. They said that was one of the big issues for morale. They also, the low pay was also an issue. If you adjust for inflation, you can see that they actually make less now than they did at the time of the riot for a starting prison guard.
There were calls to tear down Big Mac at the time, but it was restored and retained. Why did they not take a different approach?
Well, one of the issues was there were actually two outside consultants that said that it should be torn down and the state should take a progressive approach toward rehabilitation rather than punishment in corrections. Obviously, that didn't happen. They established a task force that recommended the prison be rebuilt. And if you think back to 1973, the state senator from that area was Gene Stipe, one of the most influential people in the legislature at the time. So, and Big Mac was a huge job creator, brought lots of jobs for that area.
Well, and reports over the years, say the same thing. Tear it down, build something anew, and for whatever reason, those reports over the years have been ignored, or that advice hasn't been taken.
So through your reporting, have you determined how the system overall compares to that explosive period of time 40 years ago?
Well, obviously now we have more prisons, but we also have more inmates. So the overcrowding continues to be an issue within the system. Right now the state prison system's at 98% capacity and has been for several years. It's basically the state has every week, every month, they're trying to figure out how are we going to fit these new inmates in here with county jails, sending new inmates in. They're in the same position. They don't have enough space for some of these inmates. And part of that staffing, part of that, is just physical location.
So with the conditions predicting another catastrophe possible, what's actually being looked at to fix the problem now?
One of the approaches DOC is trying to take is get more staff. specifically at OSP, as well as at other facilities. One of the issues you face, though, is that low morale, low pay, them being overworked. There's been several reports of guards who have crashed their cars on the way home because they're so tired from working. They won't hire more people if they don't believe the working conditions are good there.
This is going to be a story that we're going to be following for some time, and so will you at Oklahoma Watch. We appreciate you visiting. Shaun, Hittle, and Clifton, Adcock, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.